Hello, and thank you for joining this final speech of today. My name is Yngve, and I, as you said, work as a commercial advisor and a product developer in the company Inventas. And for those of you that don't know what we do, we are a product development bureau, and we help our customers to develop their technology. So we help them with design and industrialization and things I'm going to talk about today. But we're also involved in hands-on with the methodology, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about the stage going from a pilot over to the industrial scale. And we had two really good speeches today, and we looked into what's already been doing. And you know, in the fishery sector, technology has been developing for a lot of years. It's the engine, it's hydraulics, it's cranes, it's fishing equipment, and then you have the sonars, and you have the really advanced maps. So there has been technology development for decades, and you know this already. So I'm also bold to look at the future, because what is coming and what is the next step in the fishing industry? So we know that digitalization and AI is coming here as well as with the other industries. We see that autonomy, energy reduction is a hot topic. We see bycatch reduction is super important, and of course, improved reporting. And I myself, I'm a mechatronics engineer, and I've been working on automation systems, so I also see that a lot of the fishing factories and on the boats will be even more automized. Sensor fusion is becoming a big thing, and of course, safety at sea. I want to tell you a quick story, because one of the first jobs that I ever had as an automation technician was to go on a fishing vessel, and I was there to change a touchscreen in the production. The task was quite simple. You should go there, take out the old one, put in a new one, press play, and it should work. And it did. But I was also told that this touchscreen had been changed 2 times in the last 4 months. So I asked myself, why do we need to change this same touchscreen again? So I looked at it, and I saw it had a lot of scratches and punctures. It was quite rough. So I asked the fishermen that worked there, what's the deal with this touchscreen? Why is it broken? And he told me that it's so hard to remove my glove to operate the panel, so I used the tip of my knife instead. And I think this is a great example of how you can, with lack of insight and user interactions and talking to the right people, you can end up with something which is a good idea, but it's a bad design. Of course, this is not the story for all product development in the fishing industry, nor the aquaculture. And I myself have been mainly working in aquaculture, and we see the same trends. We see autonomous systems, robotics, we have underwater surveillance, autonomous ships, we have advanced sensor fusions, is energy reduction, is digitalization. It's the same thing we're working on in a lot of the different industries. But one thing which is similar and almost the same for all of them is the methodology we use to do the development. And that's what I'm going to dive into even more on now. Because for all of these projects that we do, we work with more than 1,000 companies, or we have been working with more than 1,000 companies. And it always starts with an idea. You see a problem, you get an idea, and you want to develop it, you want to go into the realization phase and commercialize it. So the last stage is the realization, and the commercialization is the industrialization. That is what you do to get to the final step, and that's also when you start making money. And we have simplified this innovation process into these 7 steps. And it's really cool to see that UIT also have the same thing. You need to start to understand the needs. You need to start to understand the needs of the users and the environment. And I'm not saying user, I say users. It's not the fisherman, it's the fisherman, it's the captain, it's the sales, it's the marketing, it's management, it's all the stakeholders. You need to understand what do they need for your product down the line. And when you do that, you test that, you have your problem definition. And that is what you're going to work on making your proof of concepts, you go into a detail phase, you make a lot of prototypes, you do a lot of testing before you have your pilot. And the aim of a pilot is to verify the design. Remember that, because that's what I'm going to talk more about. Because when you have verified your design, you can go into the industrialization, and then you can release your product. And this looks very simple, and it's not always a straight line. But I'm going to give you an example on one of the projects we've been working on. It's a company called Ultra Aku, and they saw that the way we clean the fish nets in the fish pans today is quite expensive and it's tedious. So they had an idea that, maybe we can use the same idea as a robotic vacuum cleaner to keep the net clean every day. So they wanted to develop this robot which was supposed to live in the fish pan and keep it clean all the time to keep the flow better and also like oxygen and so on and so forth. And we started going out there. We went out, we talked to the people, we tried to understand, we even dived in one of the fish pans to try to understand how the flow and the movements. And these are only some of the words, of course, but you need to consider all of these things. You need to understand the weather, the water quality, the location you're going to work in. You need to understand the depth, the weight of the unit, how you should handle it, and of course the rules and the regulations. So there's a lot of things you need to understand before you can go in, make the prototype, and then going into the pilot stage. So we take the same things, we take all of this insight, and we find the main components. Like for me as a mechatronics engineer, it's of course about like the PCB and batteries and sensors, but it's of course sealings, everything you need to understand. And what was the pilot? What is the aim of the pilot for this system? And it's quite simple. Don't make it too complex, because what we needed to prove to show that this could work, we needed to show that it can clean sufficiently. We needed to show that it can be operated and handle the rough environments. We needed to test it at sea where it's supposed to work, because as in the fishing industry, it's really rough. You need to show that everything can keep together. You needed to show that it could be user-friendly and maintained by the people that already works there, because you don't want to have to send the service people every day. It needed to be more cost-effective, of course, and you needed to prove that the system as a whole could work. Not that it works 100%, but it could work. It will work if we continue to develop. So as I said, it all starts with the problem definition. And if you define your problem well enough, then you already know what you're going to verify at the design phase. Of course, there will be new information along the way. It's not a straight line, but you have your basics. And when you show that your technology works, your business model works, you know you have user acceptance and market acceptance, then you have a successful pilot. And then you move into the industrialization. So I showed you this, this illustration before with all the things you need to consider into the pilot, into the prototype. But of course, moving forward, you need to consider everything which is, you need to look at the bigger picture. Industrialization is all about, you need the compliance, you have the CRA Act, you need to be appliant with cyber resilience, you need to have EMC directive, IP ratings, you need to be GDPR and CE marking. So there's a lot of things you need to consider, and you need a lot of things you need to prove to be able to put your product on the market. And for a lot of product, this can be a little bit of a tedious project, but it's of course something you need to do. And it's also in the industrialization phase where you're going to improve the system. So this is where you make improve your manuals, and you have assembly improvements and cost reduction, and you get even more better deals with the supplier, and so on and so forth. And there is a reason why you shouldn't focus too much on this before you have your pilot approved. It's because if you do all of this to start off with, of course you need to consider it along the way, but if you do it, you will spend a lot of money on something that might not work. So if your pilot didn't work, you need to iterate. Or if the market isn't there, you should do something else. So don't use your energy and money on something that might not work. So to wrap this up, we already heard that there's a lot of technology that's already there in the different industries, in aquaculture. Use the technology that's out there. You might need to do some adjustments, but there's a lot of great technology which we can put into our systems today. And also, a pilot without a market, that's just an expensive hobby. Just don't do it. And as I've been hearing today with the two different speeches as well, development is quite complex, and even now more so with all the new regulations and things you need to consider. So I would just like to say you should team up with someone that's professional, because this is what we do. We do innovation and design. We do the work for our customers. So we are more than happy to take your questions. Yeah, thank you.